Hi everyone, so I'm here with my husband Ben.
Hi.
And I've been getting a lot of requests to do a video about our experience moving and living abroad. And months ago now, I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any questions about it, and we're finally filming this Q&A, so let's jump right into it. So to quickly give you a bit of background, we've been living in Germany for about 3.5 years now, and we've been living in Cologne for almost exactly 3 years. And we initially decided to move here because I was thinking of doing my master's in Germany. I decided not to, but then we had talked about moving and we decided to move anyways. And it's been a pretty great experience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the first question is from Rotkopfian, who says, do you speak German? Did you learn any of the language before you came here? So we speak some German.
Yeah, we speak enough German to get by in normal everyday situations.
I would say that we're able to function in German, but our German is definitely not as good as it should be for having lived here for 3 years. And I think that's really unfortunate. We should have done a much better job at learning German. We knew a little bit of German when we moved here.
Yeah, we did a little bit of Duolingo before we moved to Germany, and then we did 2 months of intensive classes after moving, and those proved to be really helpful just for everyday things and reading especially and understanding what people say. So that's
so we can get by, but we can't have any in-depth conversations with anybody. So the next question is from Kramos, who says, how did you get permission to live there beyond the holiday or working visa? Can you even get a working visa if you run your own business? And we came to Germany through a program called the Canada Youth Mobility Agreement, which allows you to get a 1-year travel work visa to quite a few different countries.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool program. It's and it depends on the visa, but you either have to be younger than 30 or 35, and we fit that window, and you write them a few short paragraphs about why you want to go live in this country, and yeah, we ended up moving with not so much difficulty. After we lived in Berlin for a little while, I ended up finding a job in Cologne, which is why we moved here. But when I found that job, I was able to get a longer work visa.
And then through his work visa, I was able to get a spousal visa. I don't know how it works if you're coming to a country to run your own business. I think that's quite different, and I think there's more restrictions. But I have my visa through Ben's work visa, basically. Emilia Mole, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce anyone's username, also wants to know about the visa process and about finding a job. And we came to Germany without any jobs lined up, which I would not recommend doing. It was a terrible idea.
Yeah, pretty risky. We got very lucky finding a job both in my field and also something that had an opening at the time.
Yeah, I would really recommend lining up a job before you move, and that way the company can also help you get your visa and help through that whole process. So we did that backwards, and I definitely wouldn't recommend doing that. So Gemma Rose says, what did you bring with you the first time? Do you still store things back in Canada? So we brought 2 suitcases each, or like a backpack and a suitcase each. And one of your suitcases was just audio gear. So we basically had, I guess, 2 backpacks of clothes and stuff. And basically all we brought was clothes and things. We didn't move any kind of furniture or things like that.
Yeah. Laptops.
Things you bring traveling, I guess, for a long period of time. Our plan when we moved was to only rent furnished apartments so that we wouldn't have to buy any furniture and dishes and that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, that plan fell through, and the apartment we're currently in, we had to buy a bunch of furniture for, which we're hoping that when we leave, we can just get rid of all of the furniture and appliances and everything to a person that wants to rent it next. That's what we're hoping.
We do still have some stuff stored in Canada at our parents' place. Just smaller items or camping gear.
My sewing machines and almost all of my sewing equipment is back in Canada. We have a few sentimental items and
some of the things that we stored that maybe we didn't intend to store for that long. Since we've been back a few times, we've sold or gotten rid of some of the things that we've stored, so it's actually quite a small amount of things now.
But luckily, my parents have allowed us to leave some stuff at their place. So next, Marusa Falcon says, since you work from home, how did you meet new people and make friends? Did you already have a job when you moved? So no, we didn't have a job when we moved.
I mostly met almost everyone that I know in Cologne through work or through coincidence.
I actually met a friend through YouTube, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, I think, mostly work, I would say, though.
Some of our friends that we know in Germany, we met through people that we knew in Canada or the States or wherever. But I think the best way to meet new people would probably be going to different social events or meetups or expat events or things like that. There's quite a few in the city.
There's a lot of groups on Facebook, which I think is a good place to find out about events like that, or meetup.com, right? I think it is.
I think so.
Yeah. This is an interesting question from Hyperbole, who says, do you feel a need to continue to participate with your community socially and or politically back home, or just within your current community? Do you find it difficult to keep engaged? So I think living in Germany and not speaking German fluently, it's hard to kind of connect to the community here, especially in a political way. That is something that I've noticed, is it's hard to kind of know what's going on in terms of news and politics and that kind of thing. And of course, we can't actually vote or participate in politics in any way.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think the language barrier is the biggest thing. And then also that we're not citizens and basically can't be if we want to keep our Canadian citizenship. So
yeah.
It's harder to stay engaged. It's kind of harder to stay engaged on both fronts because we are so far from Canada.
I do feel more of a connection, I guess, to politics and things happening in Canada just because we are, of course, citizens and we can vote and stuff like that. Whereas here, I don't feel like, I can call our government representative and, write a letter about something because, we're not actually German citizens. So I do feel more of a bit of connection there, but I also feel like that has been severed a bit, of course, having moved overseas. So it's sort of a weird middle ground, I guess.
I think, unfortunately, for us and many people, it seems like American politics are the thing that most people are hearing about these days.
I think with social media, though, it's so amazing that you can continue to be engaged in all of these different communities and communities around the world. And through YouTube, I feel connected to people and have met people all around the world. So it's definitely a lot easier now, I guess, to stay connected. So the next question is from Van Ryoji, and they ask, are there specific things you miss from Canada? What do you miss from Canada?
I kind of miss driving.
Yeah, we don't have a car or drive here at all, which I love, but
yeah,
driving.
Well, I love not having a car and not paying for a car and all of that, but I do, in a way, enjoy driving, and in Canada
and
it's kind of required, and motorcycling and all of that. Being able to speak to just anyone normally, be our normal selves, let's say.
Yeah, it's harder, I think, to just randomly meet people and talk to people if you don't feel super comfortable speaking the language. And especially when it comes to things like all the bureaucracy and getting letters from the government and having to deal with people in offices, that can be really challenging in a different language. So it's always nice to be able to do that in your own language.
Yeah.
I miss ketchup chips, dill pickle chips.
Although we did find ketchup chips recently.
But they weren't the same.
Portugal. I miss being close to family.
Yeah.
We haven't really been back to see our family in over a year now. Maybe like a year and a half.
Yeah, that's of course really difficult. All of our friends and family back home and missing them. I think if you move anywhere, you of course leave people behind, and that always sucks. Is there anything Canadian specific though that you miss? Like that you can only get or do in Canada?
We should make a list of things we don't miss.
I definitely don't miss the weather.
I don't miss the cell phone plans.
I kind of miss the snow, but then every time I go back to Canada in the winter, I'm excited for maybe a couple days, and then I just wish that I was somewhere warmer. So I miss it, but also not.
Yeah. I miss the snow, but not the cold.
Yeah. So Lizzie Lauterbach says, what was the reason to leave Canada? Why was moving so attractive? So I mentioned that briefly, but I initially was looking into doing my master's in sustainable fashion in Berlin, and we had talked about moving to Berlin and had kind of generally made a vague plan to move. And then I decided against it, but we were both, I think, pretty excited to move and to start a new chapter of our lives. You were ready to kind of leave your job, and
yeah, it just sort of made sense at that moment. It was a good time for us in our lives to move somewhere else and try something different, sort of just throw ourselves into a different culture.
Yeah, and we both talked about wanting to live abroad before, So it seemed like a really good just time to do that. And also we wanted to live in Germany because I have some family that's from Germany and knew a little bit of German and a little bit about Germany. But we also wanted to do a bunch of traveling in Europe. And of course, Germany's in a great central location. And it's of course a lot easier to travel around Europe if you're actually living in Europe. So we just wanted that experience. And yeah, I think that was kind of our moving situation, although we didn't plan it out as well as we should have. Like I said,
We got lucky.
yeah, we did get very lucky, but it was also pretty naive thing to do looking back for sure, but it was a great adventure also.
Sure. Yeah, it still is.
Yeah. So next, Voerti says, what are some challenges you have faced initially when you moved abroad? Did you live together before moving abroad, and favorite things about living abroad? So some challenges, I would definitely say learning the language, moving without knowing very much language.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. It makes a pretty big difference to living a normal everyday life, not being able to be your ordinary self. Specifically in Germany, I've heard and experienced the bureaucracy is rather silly at times. It seems like there's a lot more hoops to jump through and a lot more time for things to process, and everything seems to be done by paper. And again, the language, specifically in these offices, is very difficult because it's sort of jargon that is only used in these bureaucratic situations.
Yeah, when you first move, you have to go to a lot of offices, sign a lot of paperwork, you get a lot of letters, and that whole process is really challenging. So the next part of the question was, did we live together before moving abroad? Yes, we did. We lived together for 5 years, I think, before we moved.
At least, yeah. Quite a while.
Yeah, I think about 5 years. What are our favorite things about living abroad? What's your favorite thing?
Probably how close we are to the rest of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. It's so incredibly cheap and easy to travel to different places compared to being anywhere in Canada.
Yeah. It takes forever to travel in Canada, and here we can go to Paris in 3 hours, we can go to Amsterdam in 3 hours. Mm-hmm. It's super easy to get around, and there's so many things to see and do. It's actually kind of overwhelming how many places you can travel to.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I think I really like the culture, the general approach to life, I guess. It's something that we've sort of talked about before, how it seems like there's a better work-life balance in Europe than there is in Canada and North America. I love that people go out a lot. If it's sunny at all, people are out in the parks and, you know, having drinks on patios and just, I don't know. There seems to be a better work-life balance, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it helps you reflect on things that you're used to and normal ways of living, I guess, when you live somewhere new and see how other people live and how they approach simple things. It really gives you a different perspective and makes you think more about how you do things and how the world works. And I think it's been a really great learning experience and just personal growth experience being able to live in a new country.
Well, they let you barbecue and drink beer in the parks. That's pretty cool. You can't do that in most places in North America. I think it's quite illegal, but
something that was a little difficult to get used to was how everything is closed on Sundays, but I actually like it now. You're still not a fan of it.
No. I mean, I understand that it's, you know, giving people a day off, like a guaranteed day off in their work and their business. Everyone has some time to rest, but what if you need groceries?
Then you just plan it and you go grocery shopping earlier. Mm-hmm. I really like it because it seems like a just nice, slow day where people aren't working, the shops aren't open, restaurants are still open, you can still go out and have a nice meal, but it just seems like a day where everyone takes it easy and relaxes and there isn't this, I don't know, crazy, everyone's on the high street shopping or something like that. So I really like that, and I think I'm going to miss that.
But that does mean that on Saturdays, everyone's on the high street shopping twice as much.
No, it's not. It's not twice as much.
There are so many people. I really like how the cities are laid out. I really like how easy it is to get around via transit or bicycling. The entire city of Cologne is designed around or with bike lanes or bike-friendly roads. And definitely the drivers are a lot more aware of that as well, compared to most Canadian cities where...
Well, the ones that we've lived in, at least.
Yeah, I think most Canadian cities are like that, though, where no one's really looking out for cyclists because it's so less common.
Yeah, and the public transit is amazing. It's so easy to get around with the trains and buses. And I think it's really funny because people here will complain about the buses being late. But in Canada, at least where we grew up in Edmonton, you can wait for an hour for a bus. It might come every hour, every 45 minutes in the middle of winter, and it could be late. And it's just, and here, you know, the bus is 5 minutes late and people are grumbling about it, which I think is funny because the transit system here is amazing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Cece Worsley says, do you think you're going to stay in Germany or move back to Canada later in your life? So we have actually very recently decided that we are moving back to Canada this year. We were in a weird situation.
Yeah, I lost my job this fall and have been trying to get a visa, and the process has been taking much longer than it should take.
So our current staying permission is until September, but we're still waiting on the visa. And we basically decided that it's been so long waiting for this visa that we talked about moving back to Canada, and we've already basically made plans to move back to Canada. So unfortunately, we're kind of being pushed out, which sort of sucks, but I'm also excited for a new chapter in our lives. I guess it's kind of ironic to make a video about moving abroad when we're now in the process of moving back, but I think it's been a really incredible experience, and I'm so glad that we did this, even though we did have a lot of challenges and hiccups and a lot of luck as well. And yeah, I'm excited to go back to Canada too, though, and see what happens. We don't have any long-term plans.
Nope, we're flying by the seat of our pants now.
Yeah. So yeah, we will see what happens, and maybe we'll end up back in Germany, maybe we'll end up somewhere else, maybe we'll stay in Canada for a while, but yeah, that's where we're at currently. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me and answering these questions. And yeah, if you have any other questions about living abroad, I guess leave them in the comments and I will try to answer them. I feel like we aren't at all some kind of super knowledgeable, perfect example of how to do this, but if you have the opportunity to live in another country, I think it can be a really incredible experience. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Bye. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And that like button.
Hit the bell and
Hit the bell.
give us thumbs up.